Hey, friend, there's something you've been waiting on, a gift, a skill, maybe an idea, something that you know is in you, but you've been waiting for the right time or the right circumstances or the right level of confidence before you actually do anything about it. Maybe you've told yourself that you're not ready or that someone else could do it better, or maybe you'll start when things settle down. Jesus told a story about exactly that, and his take on it might be more challenging than you expect. So let's set the scene. Jesus is teaching his disciples near the end of his ministry, and he's telling a series of parables about what it looks like to be ready, to be faithful while waiting for his return. This one involves a wealthy man who leaves on a long journey. And before he goes, he calls three servants and entrusts them each with a sum of money. We're going to look at the parable of the talents. One quick note to get us grounded. Some scholars believe that a single talent in Jesus' time was worth roughly 20 years of wages for a common worker. Wow, this isn't pocket change. The master is entrusting these men with something significant. So let's open the Bible to Matthew chapter 25 and starting in verse 14. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. And then down in verse 21, it says, his master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. And then further in verse 24, then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you were a hard man, so I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. I love this passage. I want to pause here and look at something about the first 2 servants. One started with 5 talents, one started with 2. They produced different amounts, 10 and 4, but the master gives them the exact same response. Word for word. Well done, good and faithful servant. The recognition isn't tied to the size of the return. It's tied to the faithfulness with what they were given. That matters because a lot of us disqualify ourselves before we even start by comparing what we have to someone else. The master never asked the 2-talent servant why he didn't produce 10. Now the third servant, he got 1 talent, smallest amount, and he buried it, kept it safe. And when the master comes back, he hands it over and explains himself. What he says is revealing. He says, I was afraid. That's the whole problem right there. Not incompetence, not bad luck, fear. He had a distorted picture of who the master was. Harsh, demanding, impossible to please. And that picture paralyzed him. So he called doing nothing the safe choice. The master calls it something else. He calls it lazy. Here's a truth from this parable. God doesn't give us talents to be preserved. He gives them to be invested. The servant who buried his talent didn't lose it. He just never used it. And in the end, that's the same thing. This isn't only about money. It's about whatever God has placed in your hands, your skills, your experiences, your story, your time, and your calling. The question isn't whether you have enough. The question is what you're doing with what you already have. So here's your challenge this week. Name the thing that you've been bearing, not hiding on purpose, but you're just sitting on it out of fear, or you're waiting, or you're telling yourself the timing isn't right. Gift you have is there, but you're waiting. The idea you keep coming back to, but never act on, the thing you sense God has been nudging you toward. Let me encourage you here. Write it down and then take one concrete step toward it this week. Not a plan, not a vision board, just simply one step. Make the call, send an email, start the draft. Simply show up. You don't have to multiply it perfectly. You just have to stop burying your talent. I'll see you next time.